Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Sideline Junkies. And tonight we've got a special episode. I don't even know how to describe it. For all the E-Rockers, it's 4007D. For everybody else, it's Paul Cordova. Just remember, Paul, we don't know the statutes of limitations, so some of the things you say here may get us in trouble. So let's keep it clean. And on the other side, we got the man, the myth, the legend, the big guy KG. I, of course, am the Midnight Rider. Tuesday Night Flight. Let's get it going, man. What's up, KG?
Nothing much, man. Just dealing with my glitchy stuff, man. It's glitcherama around here, but it's been a long, trying day in more ways than one.
The missus good?
Huh?
The missus good?
Oh, the missus is good. The missus is good, but you know, we always like to end on a high note, so I got to start on a low note. Got the news early today. Lost a good friend of mine, big Boston Celtics fan. You know, whenever those Celtics Bulls series was happening, him and my cousin Robert gave me the business, man. And now here I'm sitting October 10th, 2023, and I done lost both of them, man. So rest in peace to my man Antonio. Big Tar Heels fan, huge Commanders fan, you know, but just gotta give him. My man got his flowers while he was here, so he could smell them. But give him his flowers even more, man. He took care of me a lot in a lot of different ways, you know, and I appreciate him for it. So big ups to him, man. Peaceful journey.
KG.
Yeah.
So this doesn't turn into a buddy fest. I'm gonna let you have the first question. Because this rabbit hole, I'm telling you right now.
A buddy fest. Okay. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Flight. Of course, Joe the Fan. You see the name on the screen, Duval Paul. Now.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. First question. Being a Jacksonville fan.
Mm-hmm.
Off the wall. Not even on the script. Is Fred Taylor a Hall of Fame running back?
Yes, without question.
See, I knew I liked you for a reason.
Without question. Look at the stats. He got the moniker Fragile Fred early on. If you look at how many games he actually missed, it wasn't very many. You look at the guys who were in front of him on that list that are in the Hall. You look at the players who played against him. He was unbelievable. The first time I saw Fred live was my brother was – this is even before I was a Jags fan, before I moved into Jacksonville. My brother was a big Gators fan, Mr. Gator fan number one. They're a breed down here. Went to a game in Baltimore. That was a whooping, just an absolute whooping. I think it was the third play of the game. Fred Taylor catches a swing pass, jukes one guy out of his shoes. He's coming right up on Hall of Famer, I believe, Rod Woodson, Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. Jukes him right out of his shoes, and he's gone like 70-something yards, just down the sidelines. Game was a laugher. It was like game was over at the half. It's one of those games. I felt like I was watching an old FSU game when I was at FSU. It was such a whooping that some unknown backup running back named Priest Holmes came in the fourth quarter. That's how bad of a game it was, and it was a laugher. Took the air right out of the stadium. Jags just rolled, and Fred Taylor. I think at the half, I think he was close to 150 yards. But he's a great player. Got to see him plenty when he was here. Was very grateful when I moved to Jacksonville that I did have season tickets for a very long time. 48-yard line right behind the opposing team's bench. Got to talk to a lot of players in very fun and interesting ways. But I was at that 375 game, which is the game that launched the Colts into their Super Bowl, when we ran for 375 yards on them in the black-on-black unis with Fred Taylor and Maurice Jones-Drew, the 1-2 punch. Fred Taylor is absolutely a Hall of Famer. I could go on forever. I will stop.
All right, so I'm going to go with my standard first question for everybody. It's the first memory. What's the first memory of sports that you remember that kind of just brought you in? Even if they didn't bring you in, it's the first thing you remember.
I hate to be that guy, but I think I'm the same exact thing as Matt Catlin. That Miracle on Ice 1980. Don't know that I fully understood Lake Placid. I remember things were suddenly very happy all the time. So everybody was very, very happy. People who were not very USA like you see, certainly in the 80s. I mean, I feel like that event in 1980 really kicked off all of that Born in the USA, that came with like Bruce Springsteen and all that patriotism of the Reagan era. And that was my first memory. I don't know that I fully understood it, kind of like Matt, but that's probably my first main one. And then I also remember kind of vaguely the 84 Olympics. I remember the opening ceremony with a bunch of pianos, LA, but I wasn't a big Olympian guy.
Okay. Now I'm hearing word that you a FSU fan.
Oh, FSU grad.
Oh, FSU grad.
I was there in between them winning with Charlie Ward and them winning with Chris Wenke.
Okay.
I milked it trying to get that championship. I milked that college degree, but I missed out.
Well, I want to start a little controversy because this is what I do. That 93 national championship, fluke, I would say, that should have been Notre Dame's championship, but fluke, right?
I believe that's what they call settled business. I mean, I still remember the uniforms for that game.
I think the way tiebreakers work, head-to-head is first. And yes, we lost to BC, but we didn't lose to Florida State. So you tell me how that tiebreaker works where FSU still wins the national championship.
I think in a different time before there was a playoff series, it was it's better to lose early than to lose late.
I think that's totally it. And I think there was also some of we gotta get Bobby one. I think they had to get Bobby his. I think that played into it. I'm just saying. That's my theory. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you can have all the theories you want. We got the hard way.
I had to cause a little controversy with that because FSU grad, FSU fan, I'm a Notre Dame fan. Midnight Rider's a Notre Dame fan, and I'm a little different than the Midnight Rider. I'm a little younger. Midnight Rider got me by like 25 years, so I'm a little younger. I still hold on to grudges, and that's one of my college football grudges right there. Is 93, and also Rocket Ismail losing to Ty Detmer for the Heisman Trophy. Still don't understand how that happened, but I still hold on to those grudges.
That's quarterbacks and stats is what that is.
Yep.
On you, Midnight Rider.
This is an easy second question before we get to the personal stuff. Second question is just, I know the answer to this, so this isn't really fair, but favorite athlete, favorite player, when, where?
Favorite athlete? Jeez, like, what are you picking a sport or?
You know what? Since I know your favorite college football player, I'm gonna make you think outside the box.
Well, I love Peter Warrick, and I was very, very grateful to see Peter Warrick in college. And I mean, I know I turned you on to his highlight reel, and I could talk about him. I will say a much superior Seminole, and my absolute favorite Seminole remains Warrick Dunn for all the work that he does with single moms after losing his mom, and all the homes that he builds for single moms. I think that's he's my absolute number one favorite Seminole all time. Always such a humble person, just great player. Even though the touchdown vulture got him in Tampa Bay. If I were going to say all-time favorite player or all-time favorite athlete, God, you're gonna put me on the spot, and I may surprise you. Before I became a Jacksonville fan, I was a Green Bay fan. Not the first team I rooted for. I was born in New York. I was first a Jets fan. We can talk about that later. But I absolutely adored Barry Sanders. I could watch Barry Sanders all damn day long. One of my favorite, back when I was still young and like would cut out the clippings from games and stuff. One of the brightest games I remember as a Packers fan back then was when we held Barry Sanders to like 1 yard or negative 1 yard. But Barry's one of those guys who you could pin him 5 yards back, and God bless Barry Sanders because he had two receivers. He had Herman Moore and he had
Brett Perriman.
Yeah, he had Perriman. Saddled with that fucking lump, saddled with that lump of a quarterback and that lump of a coach. I was not ever a Wayne Fontes fan. I was not ever a Scott Mitchell fan. Give Barry a fullback. At that time, we're watching, he had no offensive line. At that time, we're watching Emmitt Smith and this offensive line of columns. I mean, you have that. I mean, they were just moving people. He was like, you were talking about your Moses moment. Emmitt Smith had Moses moments just about every game where there wasn't a guy within 5 yards of him. I mean, you and I could have pushed our, grandmother down the, in a wheelchair through those holes. And Barry never had that. He had to earn everything. I always felt like he was a far superior back, and he was just saddled by this single back system, middling defense, nobody at quarterback, and just, played a tough division. Vikings had a good team back then too. Chicago, I don't know. They were much back then. Eric Kramer years. I don't know about that.
I mean, that division, if you look at the history of quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs in that division outside of Green Bay, like Minnesota has had its stretch with Moss, Reed, and Carter.
Mm-hmm. They
have it now with Justin Jefferson, but in between that, it's like few and far between. I mean, they had Peterson, but then you have
you had Sterling Sharp, first wide receiver in league history to 100 catches in a year. You had Antonio Freeman, Javon Walker was doing. He had a couple big touchdown seasons with Favre, but they also had Chimura. I mean, they had
Robert Brooks.
Yeah.
Green Bay's been steady. I mean, you think about it; they've transitioned from Favre to Rodgers, and I think Love could be it, but his last two spots have been shaky.
He didn't look like it last night.
No, he didn't. But you got to remember, his most experienced receiver is a 2 year guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, KG. I'm sorry. You're on mute. Yes.
Hey, the mute button got to win sometimes. God, where do I want to go next? I don't even know.
That's my favorite sports memory.
Well, yeah, your favorite sports memory.
All right. I'd planned for that one. So I know I don't look it. I'm half Cuban. I'm half Italian. That's what this is. My dad is way Cuban. Came over when he was young. He was in New York when they first got the Mets back in 1960. I think it was 60, 62, 60. But he was there. He ended up going off to Vietnam, volunteered as an immigrant from Cuba, volunteered, went to Vietnam, came back, was there for the 69 series. I still have the Amazing Mets, Meet the Mets, record album that he stole that I inherited. But he instilled that love of the Mets, and God bless him. It wasn't until the early 80s that the Mets started getting good again. And I still remember in 83, he was really hot to trot about this rookie that we got, Darryl Strawberry. And then come 84, he was over the moon about this other rookie that we got, this 19-year-old from Tampa named Dwight Gooden. And I still remember one day, me and my brother up in my house in New York, raking leaves in the backyard. Out of nowhere, my dad just comes out. I don't know what was discussed. I don't know where my mom was. He just said, pack up the rakes. Dr. K's on the mound tonight, and we're going. And we just drove. I had no idea how far the stadium was. I lived about maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Got to Shea Stadium. And just the entire atmosphere, the entire event was just, it caught me. It captured me. The sights, the smells. I mean, I'll never forget that game. Great history. Finally got to see them win in 86 with all those players. But, I mean, for years watching good team after good team after good team. I mean, they didn't have a run like, Atlanta's got, in the 90s and whatnot. But, that little chunk of the 80s, being a Mets fan was really, really great. And that was probably my favorite memory.
Go ahead.
There you go. That leg, man. But I think you have to be maybe the second Mets fan that I've met in my life.
It's hard. It's been hard to be a Jags fan at times, but hopefully that's over. We'll see.
Hopefully. I mean, seems like kind of sort of riding the ship down there. As far as the Mets go, and I got a follow-up question.
Sure, yeah.
I know you named Strawberry, Gooden, but outside of those two, favorite Mets player?
Oh God, very underappreciated, and I think he was treated very unfairly for the behavior of others. But I was a big Kevin Mitchell fan. I did like, obviously you got Keith Hernandez, Gary Carter, the Hawk, Rusty Staub, Craig Nettles, but I like Kevin Mitchell. I think that one year he played every position but catcher and pitcher. He was just a very, very diverse player, not a flashy guy, but he was surrounded by all those, 80s new money, young guns, at the height of the, drug scene, kind of before the steroids really took over. So it was very, very fast times, and living in New York, being a young, person with money. And I think Kevin Mitchell he caught a lot of flack for other players' behavior. The way I remember it, I remember watching back in the day, the old Kiner's Corner with Ralph Kiner on WOR number 9, Channel 9 in New York City.
All right. So for those that don't know, I think I knew Met Paul in 99.
Yeah, probably 98, 99.
All right. Nalo.
Oh man, Nalo. God, Nalo was that was a very patient beverage assistant at the MCI Center, the old MCI Center, the old phone booth.
So I forget who they played. So this is my second Cavs game. He took me to my first one. We were on the glass. So the second one, we end up in like the 200 section. I don't know how we got the tickets. I don't remember if we knew somebody or what. So we end up going to the section and sitting down. The waitress name is Nalo. Nailo.
I thought it was Nalo.
It don't matter.
Nalo. I think it was Nalo.
All right, cool. We'll go with that. We'll go with your version better. You had less drink. You had the same amount of drinks I did, so it doesn't matter.
Oh.
So we got to a point when we were sitting there. We're like, every 10 minutes, just bring us a drink. She looks at us like, what? It's like, yeah, every 10 minutes, just don't even worry about asking. Just boom. So we set this pace for the whole game. And then like at some
overtime, and then we were in trouble. And then we couldn't. They cut us off at overtime. Like, oh, we're in overtime. But the game's still playing. You guys are pretty good. You had enough. Yeah,
I think at one point we even chanted her name a couple times.
Oh yeah, we were definitely young and obnoxious.
Yeah.
I like to say we've gotten better.
I hope so. I mean, I don't think I can do that now. I don't have that pace left in my system. Go ahead, man.
Nah, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that one. And I think you still got it in you. I mean, only one way to find out. Hockey season is starting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and so, since we on this, big guy, my Instagram name.
What?
I just seen it a little while ago when I was messing with you about the Yankees home run.
That's what Calrissian, is that you?
That's me. That's my
Lando.
There it is. That's where it comes from. It's this guy.
Lando.
This guy's the reason for the Lando. I don't know what we were doing, but I'm sitting in the office typing up a customer. I finish, and I turn around. He's like, Lando. If you got backstory, please tell me, because I don't remember.
Oh, I don't remember where it came from. He was the smoothest brother in the universe. I remember that. Billy D. Billy D. Love me some Billy D.
All right, so let's go ahead.
No. See, when you got organic nicknames like that, it doesn't. You don't need a backstory because it just stuck.
Right.
So
So funny thing was, I was like, I gotta get an Instagram name. I'm Fat Poet on Twitter or X, whatever it is now. I was like, damn, what should I go by? So I used to be Fatso Gambino. It was a play off of the Childish Gambino, and I think Soto called himself something along those lines. So Juan Soto. So I kind of got in that thing. I was like, I'm gonna do Fatso Gambino, and then I was like, what's the one nickname that has stuck with me, or that I always remember? I was like, Lando Calrissian. So that's how the Fatso Calrissian came about.
My backstory for my IG handle ain't that cool. So my backstory is just I'm an Otis Redding fan. That's one of my favorite songs. So Mr. Hard to Handle, that's it. It was everything all across the board at one time.
All right, Paul. So you Jacksonville guy. Mm-hmm. Let's jump into some of that. I mean, we were talking in the pre-show. So like now with Jacksonville always doing a lot of stuff in London, is there a feeling in the city that you're going to lose the team, or you just think you're going to lose games every year because they're pretty much dedicated to being in London for 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the team going anywhere. They've been pretty transparent about it. They sacrifice a home game every year, and the reason for it is for a lot of years. And the truth is North Florida, rabid football fans. You come down to the Florida-Georgia game here, played in Jacksonville every year. That's those tickets go for 2, 3, 4 times what Jags tickets go for. The problem is they haven't had a winner since Mark Brunell was here. So they went through a bunch of bad quarterbacks. They went through the Byron experiment. They went through, David Garrard, Jack Del Rio. They went through 4 years of Gus losing his coach in the NFL, won 5 games, 3 games, 4 games, 2 games. You let this guy stick in the building for 4 years, stinking it up. Then you replace him with Doug Marrone, who's, greatest, he was a lunch pail guy so much that like the thing he was famous for was like, oh, he likes bologna sandwiches. I like wins is what I like. And then they, commit the sin of all sins is they hire Urban Meyer, friggin' deal with the devil. I knew that was a horrible decision day one. At my work office, I had a little urbanometer and I had a little needle and it never went up from skeptical except one time. It went to still skeptical when we beat Buffalo 9-6 in a horrible, ugly game. I knew Urban was going to be a disaster. I wanted Robert Saleh at the time. And now we finally have a head coach who's proven. Super Bowl winning head coach got, they got a statue for him in the state in the city of Brotherly Love that they, seemed to forgot right about. They fired him, driven him out of town like 2-3 years later. And then we got a franchise quarterback that I really believe in that, thank God, he survived the Urban years. But the problem is, the truth is way back in the day, back when they were doing blackouts, when you didn't sell out, Jacksonville, it's a big city, but it's a small town. It's a city, but it thinks it's a beach town. Like I lived in DC. I know how crazy people are about the Redskins. Jacksonville's just not that city. I mean, you could run into players, grocery store, restaurant, Toys R Us. You could run into all over. It's just like, oh, how's it going? Super chill, laid back experience. But like I was, to the original question, yeah, we give a game up every year because we weren't selling the stadium out for a long time. And the revenue that we get just from that was making up like 15, 18% of our budget. We had 2 games this year, but the second game was an away game. So that was a Buffalo home game. So we only lose 1 home game for that. But I mean, the truth is like every once in a while I hear people talking about, oh, you guys are moving. And you know what? First it was you're moving to LA. You know how many teams have moved since that? You got St. Louis moved. You got Oakland moved, and even back then, people were talking to, there's a lot of teams that have moved. And I mean, that's how it's been since day one. Jacksonville's long been disrespected. When they first got the franchise, don't forget, it was 30 days after Carolina was announced as the number 31. And who was coming for it? Baltimore, who wanted their team back, and St. Louis, who wanted their team back. They eventually got LA to move back, but nobody wanted Jacksonville. We've been the dark horse, the underdog since day one. We were disrespected from day one. We finally came out. We shut the Broncos up early on, and then we went dormant for 15 years, 20 years. That's the way it's been. But I don't think we're going anywhere. Shad Khan's talking about building a new stadium. It's going to be like SoFi. He's building 4 Seasons right across the street that he's going to own. He just built massive Miller Electric Center practice facility, which is insane looking. Go check. I'll send you links. He's like, we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere.
So just to follow up, you mentioned Jack Del Rio, a name that is, let's just say it's in the comments a lot for this team. What was your impression of Jack? What are your thoughts on Jack? Because he was your head coach for like a stretch, right?
Oh, yeah. He was the head coach for a while. Jack is the same guy he's been. Jack is literally the same guy he's been for 20 years. His scheme has not really evolved. His personality is definitely not evolved. I do not feel like, even though he's a former player, I do not feel like he is a player's coach. I don't feel like there are players that will run through walls for former players. Like I'll tell you who scares me right now: D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans was a phenomenal player. I feel like he's going to be a phenomenal coach. I hated that our division rivals, I feel, stole the draft. That's a coach you're going to play for. I don't feel like as big as your front four is, I expect more. I feel like Jack Del Rio's got the same exposed holes in defenses, and if you've got a team that matches up a certain way, you'll do fine. And I think the same, Jack Del Rio's defense is very, very predicated on the players that are in the scheme making the plays. And if you don't have that talent at those positions, it gets exposed. I mean, we were talking before we went on. I said, I don't think Jim Schwartz is the most likable coach, but his scheme works and he evolves and he's able to mix and match and he's able to get results. I don't think he's a great head coach. I think he's a good defensive coordinator. I don't think Jack Del Rio is a great defensive coordinator. I think that Ron Rivera should have let him go this offseason and replace him with somebody else. I feel like Washington would be in a much better place because I do like Bieniemy. I just feel like your defense is I don't feel like you're getting the best out of your defense.
Okay. KG, you got something else before we wrap this up? I think he had to step away. So, we talked about Del Rio. We talked about Jacksonville. You're a hockey guy.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on this upcoming season? I know you saw Matt last week give us a quick preview. Are you still a Panthers guy?
I'm a Panthers fan, and that's brutal. I mean, I was a Panthers fan back in the year of the Rat when they first got a franchise, and they did some exciting things with Van Breesbrook and Scott Mellenby and those guys. And truthfully, I've always loved hockey. Living in Jacksonville, you don't get as much of it unless you really look for it. But certainly always kept tabs on my Panthers. And when, the past few years, they started making moves that I was really starting to like. Definitely started seeing things start to turn. Really hopeful that they'll have a good run this year. I think they've got a good team. I think Bobrovsky and the whole experience, I think Kachuk, I think they've got a good team. But truth of the matter is we play in a tough division. You've got, we've got some tough teams that have always kind of taken our lunch money. And until we can consistently beat those teams, I'm always going to feel like, there's a chance, but that's what kind of gets you excited, which is why I was so excited that they made it to the finals this year, because between Carolina or Tampa Bay, it's those two teams that have just always just kind of taken our lunch money one way or another, or just ended our seasons. And, the fact that we were able to get a little bit over that hump this year gives me hope, but anything can happen. We just got to finish in the top. You get to the playoffs and then, teams get hot. It's a war of attrition. It's the toughest trophy to win for a reason. It's
get a hot goalie.
It's a beautiful game. But you need so much going for your team. And, sometimes you're a team of destiny, and hopefully we'll be that this year or some year soon. But we'll see. All right. I'm excited that it's back. How's that? I'm excited it's back.
That's perfect, man. That's perfect. So let me ask you this one too. FSU, you kind of guys have gone through some lean years, and kind of looks like you're coming back. Jordan Travis is a guy that's on my radar because, as you know, I do a QB top 5 list. I was going to see some changes this week. But what are your thoughts on Travis? And then before you even go further than that, just overall, that team, what do you think your options are, your opportunity is?
Well, first off, I really felt like we were hurt with Bobby those end years, because I feel like recruiting was like just going against his age and how long is he going to be there. Jimbo, I think, came in, did some good things. Obviously, I mean, he had that one kind of everything just fit together with Jameis that one year. But Jimbo's a snake. He didn't really leave that team in great shape. He ignored the offensive line for a real long time, and then he, saddled. Willie Taggart with some rough squads. A lot of people don't remember Odell Higgins came in, been there with the program forever. But Mike Norvell is definitely the right guy. I knew it would take time. And Jordan Travis, truthfully, I think he's had the baptism of fire. He's gone through some rough years. He's been booed. He's been called everything under the sun. And he's finally putting it together. He's one of those players that each year he keeps ascending a little bit more. And I think we absolutely won the portal this year. The portal players that we brought in.
That's Keon Coleman, right?
Stars, just stars. Oh yeah, stars everywhere. And then we've got a culture. I mean, that's the thing that we haven't had in a long time since Bobby is we've got a culture, which is why we were able to keep Verse at the end because he wants to be that top 3, top 5 pick in the draft this year, and he wants to win a championship. And we got a shot. Georgia looks like Georgia. But they were not looking great a couple weeks ago, and the SEC, the teams that they play, it's I don't want to say it's a soft schedule because it's the SEC, but I feel like Georgia's going to cakewalk into the playoffs, and that's the team to beat.
Let's just say the SEC is where it seems like offense goes to die. Unless you have that elite quarterback that you prop up the offense on. I mean, let's think about it. I mean, Georgia decided to hold his team back by starting Jake Fromm over Justin Fields. So that was their big mistake. You had Hurts in front of Tua. Once you saw that Tua was the better quarterback, it took a minute. Look at Bo Nix. Bo Nix is another situation where at Auburn, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And now all of a sudden he looks like a dynamic quarterback. So, and I've fought to liken Bo Nix because I remember seeing Bo Nix play god awful. So I don't know what it is. I don't even know where to put Bo Nix in respect to like the top QBs in the country right now.
Yeah, I hear you. But, like I said, I mean, I'm just glad we've got a system now where there is a playoff. I feel like FSU definitely, they've got a couple big games coming up after what Miami did. I don't know. I feel like they're, I mean, I feel like obviously we should beat Miami, but those old scars won't just go away. I still remember the day I got married was you were there. I remember you dancing with my mother-in-law. I thought you might end up taking her home, but that was a Miami FSU loss. That was a Miami loss. I was with another kick that went just to the side and. That's the way it went. But it was a fabulous day otherwise.
And I think we got some comments. KG, you got some comments for me? So Ross comes in late or comes in with "What's up, guys?" Go ahead. Next one. Matt Catlin. New stadium in Jacksonville.
Yes. The current stadium, TIA Bank. I'm sorry. Now it's back to Everbank, aka Trevor Bank. It is built on the bones of the old Gator Bowl, and they have just released plans for a new stadium, which is going to be. It's like I'm telling you, just look at it. If you look at that SoFi Stadium in LA, it's going to be one of those state of the art. Looks like just a big, spaceship type stadium. The problem is the price is going to be $1 billion. Who cares? What's $1 billion?
Right.
And they want the city to pay, but thanks to this lovely trip to London, where many members of our local city went on a goodwill mission, and we are trying to get a direct flight from London to Jacksonville for all of those UK Jags fans. But Donna Deegan, our new mayor, love her dearly. She's great. She's been a cornerstone for the community for decades. She has indicated that she's on board with helping with the funding, what that will look like. I'm sure there'll be some negotiations, but absolutely, we're going to get a new stadium. And what's going to end up happening is we're going to have to play for at least a year, probably to somewhere else. The closest options are Gainesville, which has its ups and downs, Orlando, which I'm dreading if that happens because I fear AstroTurf, and the option that I think is ultimately going to end up happening is Daytona, that they're going to put a football field on the middle of the track at Daytona's, the Daytona 500 Speedway. And I think that's where we're going to end up playing football for a year or two, but we'll see how it all shakes out.
So you think they're going basically back on top of the old Gator Bowl to build a new facility?
I think they may have to do some of that. And I think some of it they're going to, redo. I don't know. I mean, I've just seen the plans and they look incredible. I mean, you think of anything a state-of-the-art stadium should have. I'll be honest with you. I was at the Kansas City game a couple weeks ago. North end zone, September. They told me prepare for rain. It was hot. I almost got heat stroke. I mean, like those September games in Jacksonville, no joke. My very first game in Jacksonville was 2005. Jacksonville hosting Seattle, Sean Alexander, Matt Hasselbeck. I remember that entire bench had like literally assistants holding, like creating shade because it's just too dang hot. And they're fans. I went into the tunnels and, the fourth quarter, I'm like, man, I don't know. I think I need some shade. I don't know that I want to spend, $9 on a bottle of water, but there's like literally like, the fire department treated well over like 200 people, I think that day, for heat related or some sort of issues. So we definitely need a stadium that's got retractable roof, and I mean this thing's got all the bells and whistles. So it's coming. I'm excited. Can't wait for it to get here.
Oh, look at that! I think that was something you said earlier. I forgot exactly where
we were talking about FSU. I saw it.
Yeah.
I know. I'm there.
Then Tampa and Nashville, 5 goals in this third period. Great first game.
I
think I said it because I did a hockey preview for another show. My boys at All In Sports. I think I like the way they set this up because they brought it boom, boom, boom. So you started with the Predators in Tampa Bay. You get Forsberg and company there. You get Bedard in the middle against Crosby in the middle game, and then you get the banner being raised at the end of the night. Looks like BJ jumps in, says culture is huge. That's only a fact. I mean, I say that all the time. I talk about when I talk about the Commanders, I talk about culture and identity. You gotta have both of those for everything to work.
Let me tell you, in Jacksonville, our culture has been like toilet water, like literally toilet water for years. You had draft after draft that was just bust. You couldn't win. You couldn't, you'd have a decent season and then you just follow it up with a dud.
That's us.
Draft. I mean, but I mean, you had poor drafts, poor coaching, toxic front office. Nobody can get anything right. And then you've got in 1 year, and this is like the miracle of miracles, Trent Baalke, who I think he still has ignored the pass rush situation. I feel like there are some free agents we could have targeted. He didn't want to do that. The big thing that is a concern right now is, it's year 2. Yes, I do like Travon Walker as a player. I feel like he fits well in Mike Caldwell's scheme. I feel like he definitely defends the run very well. He can do a lot from a pass rush. I feel like he needs more tools in his belt. He had 4 pressures this week on Josh Allen, which tied for the team lead. But his entire career is going to be based off of what Aiden Hutchinson does. Aiden Hutchinson's looking like a baller right now. We would have had Aiden Hutchinson on the other side of Josh Allen. I'd feel significantly better about where my team is. And I feel like that the fact that Trent Baalke, the entire fan base wanted him fired. The entire fan base. I was at that clown game against the Colts where all they needed to do was win and they'd be in the playoffs, and we smoked them with this trash team. A whole bunch of fans dressed up like clowns because they didn't like Trent Baalke. Shad Khan, who has been loyal to a fault, especially with Gus Bradley, says, I'm sticking with Trent. I'm bringing in Doug. Even though Trent let's not forget, signed off on Urban Meyer, which was such a train wreck. And I saw it coming from a mile away. And I feel like Trent will always protect his own skin. The fact that Doug Peterson comes in in such a way and gets his team and tells his team, this is what we're going to do. And the players believe in it because of what he did in Philly. I didn't believe that the culture could be turned around that quickly in Jacksonville. I knew it was going to take time in Tallahassee. In Jacksonville, in 1 year, he turned that culture around. I'm telling you, that second half of the year last year was magic. Magic.
But that turned on that game in London. Whatever game, I forgot the game you played in London, but you played a game in London last year, and I think you pulled that out late, and then that became the catalyst for your run down the stretch. And it doesn't hurt when you have a franchise quarterback. When you got Sunshine playing QB for you, it's a beautiful thing. And then you have the necessary things on the outside. And I think you could upgrade that receiver, but you got Calvin Ridley, who was the upgrade. And I think that's the thing that's what you're reaping the benefit of right now.
I think the problem that we have as a fan base is we saw that turnaround, like you're saying, from the London game last year. I was at that Tennessee game to win the championship, and it was the ultimate, like, oh, this is such a Jaguars moment. They had the towels because, Andrew Wingard had that comment. It was always the Jags. After the Tennessee game, the first Tennessee game in their backyard where we beat them, Andrew Wingard says to the cameras, it was always the Jags. So what they do is they made it into a big marketing thing locally. They print up these towels. It was always the Jags. And we're playing against Josh Dobbs as the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. And we're just playing an awful game. Awful game. And there's like stereotypical Tennessee fan sitting right in front of me in the north end zone. Looks like everything you would think a Tennessee fan looks like. And I know he's got this, it was always the Jags, towel in his hand thinking, I'm going to bring this back to Nashville as a souvenir because they were so cocky, and then we whooped them, and then we won the division. And I said to myself, we're going to lose this game. And I still remember that strip sack fumble return. Like I was having like heart palpitations because it was so late. And then when it happened, I was like, oh my God, it happened. Then the following week, to have that week where God bless those fans, every one of us, not one of us left the stadium. Maybe one of us left the stadium after Trevor threw 4 picks. Then we came back and were rewarded with that playoff win. Epic. So we think it's going to carry over. What happens? We go to Indy, play a sloppy game, get behind, have to come back from behind. And you say, okay, it's week 1. Week 2, you get Kansas City in your backyard. Kansas City, who we played, that's the third time we played them in like 10 games. And you know what it is. You know who they are. You want to be the guy, you got to beat the guy. Defense did their job. Hold them to 17 points. You will Pat Mahomes to 17 points with Kelsey on the field at home. And we're kicking field goals. Looked so horrible. Feel like we were forcing plays to Jamal Agnew, who's a great kick returner. Can't forget that he's fumbled the ball in huge games and cost us games.
Yeah, he cost you the playoff game.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget it. He's what cost us that Kansas City. Well, I don't say he's what cost us, but his play that ended it. So, feels like we're forcing plays. Okay. Got a get right game coming up. It stinks that we lost to Kansas City, but you know what? You played them tough. Got a get right game with Houston, except it was a get right game for Houston. Houston looked unstoppable.
I actually picked Houston to win that game. I think Houston's. So I saw the week before. I tell everybody I watched the NFL matchup show. When I saw the matchup show and I saw a couple things that they were doing, and I saw Stroud in the pocket because I watched that and I watched Baldy NFL on Instagram. I knew that they were going to give y'all problems, and I think they should have won last week against Atlanta. They just got in their own way. But I think Houston's going to be that one team that's going to give you troubles the whole rest of the year because they're going to be better than you think they are because of the defense. So it looks like Jeff Neal says play all year in London.
Did you can't do that? The Bills fans will complain too much.
Did you work for Jeff?
I think once upon a time we worked. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I don't remember if y'all crossed paths.
I remember going to Caps games and going to other places before Caps games.
Right, exactly. Ross jumps in. He says, I was agreeing with Duval That's you on
Oh.
his assessment of Jack Del Rio.
Oh yeah, Del Rio does not motivate anybody. I think the thing that was I don't want to get political, but let's just say when he was here in Jacksonville, I remember kind of making this face when I heard that when he was going to a Sarah Palin event. I was like, really, Jack?
Enough said. And then Matt says, Bedard and Crosby take the opening draw. Crosby wins it. But yo, I'm telling you right now, this has been crazy. I'm actually surprised that we didn't go an hour between the two of us, just because of just what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So P, I'm gonna give you the option. You can stick with us the rest of the ride, or if you want to just tap out and just watch the show, you can do what you want to do.
No, man, I'll hang. I'll see where you go. I mean, we didn't even. I thought for sure we were gonna get to some other stuff, but that's okay. I got it.
We go ahead, because I know what you want to go to. So go ahead.
What's that? Because you teed it up. I thought you were going to talk about your.
I teed it up. I thought. See, Scott normally is in the comments, so Scott would have automatically teed it up. So let's just go ahead and tell everybody before we get to the NFL Week 5 recap, the Regis and Kathy Lee story.
Oh, the Regis and Kathy Lee story. Okay, so moved from DC to Jacksonville when my wife got pregnant. Wife had the baby who is now almost 18.
Yep.
And as many stay-at-home moms do, she was watching. She just got hooked on whatever local morning TV there is, and one of them was Live with Regis and Kelly. And one of the things they had was a recipe challenge show, whatever it may be. So my wife ended up getting on with a recipe called Chicken Ben Conti, named for the Midnight Rider. And it was judged by the Iron Chef. What's his name? Morimoto?
Yeah.
Emerald Lagasse. It should have been Todd English, but he ended up leaving, so it was Gelman. And then it was Regis and Kelly, and they ate a dish. Emerald told my wife she should have won, but she came in second place. If you want to see the video, if you just go to YouTube and search Live with Regis and Natty, Natty, you will see the recipe and a picture of Ben in his one of his many jerseys. He used to make jerseys that all said Conti on the back of them, and it was just every team. And this one, I think, was a Denver Broncos jersey. He's going.
So you know where that's from, right?
Yes, I do. That was taken from our trip to the Kingdom.
King's Dominion.
King's Dominion.
Assistant
and that's
manager.
when I learned that the Midnight Rider definitely does not like roller coasters.
Yes, sir.
He showed me many birds.
And the backstory to even that was your wife made the dish because I think I was
you were a guest
of the night.
You were a guest of the night. We had too many tomatoes, and she's like, "Oh, I'll whip this together." Hey Ben, do you like this? Hey Ben, do you like that? And it's a very involved dish, and it was delicious. And if you
somehow named it became Chicken Ben Conti.
That's how she called it. Yeah, it was in steady rotation for a very long time.
Yes, indeed. All right, so let's get to this NFL Week 5 match recap. So we pick every week. You've seen the show. We pick games. So we started this week with the Ravens and the Steelers. Steelers somehow pulled this ball game out. Still don't know how that happened. But we got a saying that the Ravens be ravening. And I think this is the perfect example of it. They leave teams in ball games, and then all of a sudden they lose. And it looks like everybody on the thing picked the Ravens. So we all lost. And then the 4.5 goal was out the window. I think the only thing we all hit was the under because we said the under. You got any thoughts on that Ravens Steelers game, Paul?
I feel like Pittsburgh have a little bit of an underrated defense. I feel like the Ravens have no receivers. They got no hands. I mean, I feel like Lamar threw enough catchable balls that were dropped. It's always tough. Those teams always play each other tough. They don't. I mean, you could have one team that's 10-win team, another team a 2-win team. Those teams are going to be, a one-score game. That's just how they are. They always play each other tough.
Exactly. The next game up we did the Eagles versus the Rams. Looks like the Eagles won. The Rams didn't cover, if memory serves me right, because it was 4.5, and they definitely didn't hit the over, because I think that was a 23-14 ball game or something like that. So, any thoughts, P, on Eagles Rams? If you don't, it's all good.
I think Philly's Super Bowl or bust this year. I mean, Rams have got Cooper Kupp back. They got Puka Nacua. Matt Stafford's playing some good football, but I mean, you look at Philly up front on both sides of the ball. They're stout. They're just stout.
But the crazy thing is, they're not third or fourth rounders. This is first or second round guys. You know what I'm saying? The kid they lost early against us, Fungin, he's the only one that's out, and it's just crazy how this team just goes and plays. You got Jalen Carter, who looks like a nightmare. The last 4 games this season, I feel sorry for anybody that plays Philly going into the playoffs, because last week he said something on the plane where he watched Stafford and timed up his drops and his time to throw. And when he did it, he knew that he had to get there quicker to the quarterback. And I think he ended up with 2 sacks last week. So just that whole mentality is amazing. That's crazy. TJ Watt.
Oh, yeah.
And then the best one is what Matt says: let a Tomlin team hang around, and he finds a way to win. And it's crazy that this is a guy that probably in Pittsburgh they're ready to run him out of town, but anywhere else would love to have a guy that's never had a losing season. So that shows you the dynamics of these cities.
They got high expectations when they got the thumb.
Right, exactly.
It's like you're spoiled, man. Just give me one.
Hey, next up we got KC in Minnesota. KC won, of course. It was larger than
I think Minnesota could have had that game.
Well, there was that. So there's the conspiracy theorists that post every week when it looks like an NFL game goes shady, and there's the pass that goes into the end zone on that last drive where the pass interference gets overturned because they said the ball got tipped, but the ball was never tipped. So everybody's like calling shenanigans on that.
If it's the same game, I think I saw it. Pretty sure I saw a tip. If it's that same game.
Well, in the replay, when the guy shows the replay, the guy hits the arm of the quarterback. He doesn't hit the football.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, if it was replayed, I mean, I don't think that the refs are cooking it for KC. I mean, I'll be honest with you. We should have had them. We should have had them week 2.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, with our turncoat lining up, 6 feet off the line of scrimmage at right tackle, we should have had him. But I thought that was a winnable game. I think Kirk Cousins, I know obviously you guys know him well. I feel like he's a very capable quarterback. I mean,
so I think he's one of those quarterbacks that the narrative has been written. So now all you get is the narrative. He can't win big games. But then if you take Kirk Cousins' career and put it in a nutshell, and you see all the times that he's led his team on a fourth quarter comeback, and then the defense gives it up in the last 2 minutes, is that really a Kirk issue, or is that really the defense issue?
Yeah, I feel like there were a number of opportunities that were left on the field for that game. I think Minnesota's kind of kicking themselves, but I mean, I feel like that's been Minnesota's season thus far. I feel like at this point they're playing spoiler right now. I mean, they just want to make somebody unhappy to get that taste out of their mouth.
Yeah, and then it's karma because they won all those games last season by one score or less. And now karma's coming back looking for his pay. The next game we covered was Falcons and the Texans. Falcons steal this ball game. Bijan Robinson looks dynamic and great, and I'm scared for this weekend when we play them. But the Texans left a lot of meat on the bone, man. And I think this team, this is one of those games where if they look back and they're short of the playoffs, this is one of those games that they're going to kick themselves for losing because they just weren't ready yet for the moment. Like, they know they can win. They think they can win, they don't have that mode where they know they can win the ball game like this.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first week in a while that Atlanta's actually got Kyle Pitts involved in the game plan. I feel like that helped them. I know there's a lot of Atlanta fans that kind of bemoan how Kyle Pitts has been used thus far.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you said it. Bijan is. I mean, he's the real deal. That behind the back shovel pass catch was insane. And Drake London, I think he's also a young buck coming up. I think they're still a year or two away, a couple players away. But they're I mean they gave us a plenty of fight when we took them in London. So I mean I'm obviously glad Houston lost. I hope they lose some more.
I mean this is Mike Smith. I mean he likes to run the ball more than do anything else. He got himself Jonnu Smith back, because he's probably one of the only other people that believes in Jonnu as a lead tight end. And then Kyle Pitts is just there just as shiny jewelry. I mean, I don't know what he's going to do in this process. And I think Desmond Ridder showed a little something, but I think Desmond Ridder has held this team hostage. And I don't know if going to Heinicke is the answer for them, but that's really what they're stuck with.
I like Heinicke just because I've got some friends here that are Washington fans, and they kind of turn me on to him. Obviously, I feel like he's done some things. He's capable, kind of like I know you got,
right.
You showed a little love to Minshew recently. As far as backup goes, I feel like he's one of the better ones. Would he be better than Ridder? Potentially, but as an owner and a head coach, are you gonna? You got to let him. You got to let the new young gun wet the bed sometime, and they're letting Desmond Ridder do that, and maybe he comes out of it, maybe he doesn't. Troy Aikman had a real horrible first year.
Right. Aikman and Peyton. The next game we had on our docket, Giants and the Dolphins. I don't know what you say about that one. The Dolphins brought out the USA 4x100 team and took them behind the woodshed and just beat them. I mean, I don't know how you're 10 points down and the defensive call is let's go 1-on-1 on Tyreek Hill. I mean, I don't know what you call that. But that's what happened, and the Giants got beat. I mean, Tua did not look for anything else. It was like the second he saw that he couldn't get to the end of his drop fast enough to throw the ball over to Tyreek Hill. And that kid, Devin Achane, I know he's maybe out for a couple weeks with a knee injury, but I mean, when he gets going, it's if y'all even, we leaving. If you in front of me, I'm leaving. It's crazy the speed he has.
So let's just say it. Jimbo was not using him. Jimbo did not know how to use that shiny toy.
But all right, so let's go to that. Texas A&M. Jimbo doesn't even know how to use any of the toys he had. Like it was the anti-Toy Story version of this thing. Instead of leaving the box open, he put a lock on it and held him hostage.
But you know what? I think honestly, the Giants. I think they blinked when Daniel Jones was up for contract, and I think they're saddled with that deal for the next 2 years. And he does not look like remotely the guy. I feel like Dable works some magic with him right at the right time, and since then, I feel like Washington. I really hope you guys sweep them. I really do.
So that's another one of those magic carpet rides. They stole week 1 against Tennessee because they were down 1. They went for 2. They got the 2. Tennessee couldn't come back and score. And then they were another team like Minnesota that won a bunch of these one-score ball games at the end of the game. And that's how they got their thing. And I picked them to win less than 7.5 ball games because I don't believe in them. To finish out this beautiful week, the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody, BJ didn't hit because he took the Cowboys, but everybody else did. I thought Dallas was going to cover. They didn't, but I think we definitely hit the over because the over was 45. So yeah, go ahead, KG.
I called it. That's all I wanted to say. I called it.
So you came back in the globe.
Yeah, because that's what I told you I was going to be kind of quiet anyway. But I said it before. I say it again. To Dallas Cowboys, you haven't arrived yet. You think you have, but you haven't. You have not arrived. You run around and you want to thump your chest. We them boys. Super Bowl, Dak this and Dak that. You were cussing Dak up and down the field last Sunday night. I want to hear that. But the 49ers, pretty daggone good team. But I say to the 49ers as well, the same thing I said last year. You haven't arrived yet. Beat Philly in the postseason, then we'll talk about you arriving.
Totally agree with you, man. And that's the recap for week 5 that somebody called week 6, but we ain't gonna talk about that.
I messed that all the way up.
That was funny because I didn't notice it until I didn't see the graphics until I watched the replay.
Yeah,
so if you had never said anything, I would have never known.
I made it look bad. That's my fault. Things happen.
Looks great. I can tell you, even though I'm obviously a Jags fan, Cowboys have long been my least favorite team in the NFL. I hate the entire moniker America's team. Jacksonville came into the NFL in 1995. That is the last time that Dallas has been dem boys. So you got a bunch of people, wearing skids, living in the past, thinking that that's who they are. The only thing that's changed about the Cowboys since the 90s is they traded Ed Werder out for, what's her name? Jane Slater.
Right.
That's the only thing that's changed about Dallas. Ed Werder was living on a cot in Irving, Texas for about 15 years. And
he probably had a hotel room paid by Jerry.
But yeah, they that defense looks good. Obviously, they took the big hit at with losing their corner for the year. Michael Parsons said some big things, saying, "Hey, laugh now and pay later." So much, he pretty much said, "Hey, look, it's one game." Michael Parsons is ready for that postseason rematch against San Francisco. I think we're all ready for it. I'd love to see that game.
The problem is, again, Leighton Vander Esch is out with an injury and another neck injury. I don't know how this kid – I don't know how this kid can say he wants to play football again. This is like the third year with something around his neck. I don't know if a doctor should let him even be sanctioned to play again. That type of thing. That's crazy.
But, that's how some players play. We just lost Dick Butkus at 80. That's how he played. Matt Milano just went out in the game in London, and that's how he plays. Matt Milano's been – he's a missile. He's one of those players. He's just like he sacrifices his body. Unfortunately, he just took a weird twist on a weird play. But some players just play that way. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
KG, you ready?
Yes, sir.
I need my thing.
It's coming.
Yes, sir. You just made the list. That's right. It is the Midnight Rider top 5 college QB list. There are some surprises this week. KG, you will be the first person surprised by the honorable mention. This week's honorable mention played in the Red River Classic, threw 3 interceptions. He has gone from number 1 now to off the list for right now, and that's my man Quinn Ewers from the University of Texas. But when we get to the postseason, he'll be back in the top 3. And I'll tell you that later on. But at number 5 from LSU, I said I wasn't going to do this, but the kid's been impressed the last couple weeks. Jaden Daniels. You just made the list, Jaden Daniels. You made the list. At number 4, who was also in that Red River rivalry game out of Oklahoma, all of 4'8". Dylan Gabriel, you just made the list. At number 3, one of the most impressive guys of this season, 3rd in passing yards, probably 1st in touchdowns, plays for the University of Washington, Michael Penix. You just made the list. At number 2, he was part of the Louis bag. He was part of the luggage that Deion brought with him to Colorado. His name is Shedeur Sanders. He's number 2 on the list. So he just made the list. And at number 1 from USC, the man, the myth, the legend, the man that says he can go back to college and live life because he don't have to go to the draft. Caleb Williams, you just made the list. And the quick recap. At number 1, Caleb Williams. Number 2, Shedeur Sanders. 3, Michael Penix Jr. 4, Dylan Gabriel. 5, Jaden Daniels. And the honorable mention is my guy, Quinn Ewers. Back to you, KG.
Excuse me, that's a hell of a list, man. Yeah, I'm surprised. And a name that I'm surprised you haven't added on that list after what are we in week 6, week 7 of college football? I'm surprised Sam Hartman didn't make your list.
Because Sam Hartman is not elite. He's a 5th-year guy. I get tired of Notre Dame doing this. I'm tired of us doing this. He's not Jack Cohn, but he's not that much better. I get tired of this. We bring in a guy. He's a 5th-year guy. We're not building anything. Coach S. Curl keeps bringing in these stragglers. We need somebody that's going to be in the program more than a year. I swear to God, I just can't do this. I'm tired of this. Last year, I had to watch Tyler Buchner and Drew Pine play quarterback. What are we doing here? And then I had to listen to, who was it? One year I had Tony Dungy. Another year I had like Jason Garrett. Like I can't stomach these broadcasts with them playing like this and putting these quarterbacks in front of me. That's just how I feel.
Well, that's because we don't have Jim Gray and all those guys from the 90s, the 80s.
I don't need Jim Gray. Give me Mike Tirico and just give me I know BJ is going to say something in the comments. I'm waiting for that. But give me Tirico and just give me somebody that can just at least have some modicum of emotion. That's all I need. Just somebody to have a pulse. I don't need
Al Michaels back.
Just have a pulse.
How about I give you Al Michaels back?
No, give me Mike Mayock. That's what I want. I want to hear about all he hits. I want to hear about bubble butts. That's what I want to hear. Michael Mayock. That is the guy.
Funny thing. I was talking to my wife. We watching Sunday Night Football, and I was telling her about Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth. It's like a lot of people don't like one or the other. Some people don't like both. I said, but I'm an Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth fan. She was like, well, Chris Collinsworth looked like he just bored the hell out of you. Mike Tirico looked like he just looking for a pat on the head. I was like, damn. She's like, yeah, I don't have a horse in the game. I said, but Al Michaels. She's like, what's so special Al Michaels? I said, the way he gets excited, people don't like it. Like, if he was calling the Notre Dame game, he would like, Sam Hartman goes deeper. He said, it's no way in 4 hells that a man should be calling a football game and sound like he's either taking a shit or coming. I said, damn, I never thought about it like that. She said, yeah, because you're biased because they did Madden 10. You played it for so long. You loved them as announcers and you loved it. Here's a guy. She was like,
oh my gosh, what?
So she read me the riot act about my announcers. I was like, damn.
Here's a guy. If there's a drinking game, I feel sorry for any kid drinking shots straight while Collinsworth says, here's a guy. Because he doesn't know how to say anything without saying, here's a guy before it. He could be on the street, and the guy can come up to him, I need spare change. Well, here's a guy that's down on his luck, and he wants some change to get something to eat.
All I know is next time I'm getting intimate with the missus, I'm just going to say, do you believe in miracles?
Oh man, where's not telling that one? Where's not going back and telling that one? Oh my god! All right, we come to that part of the show.
This is your part of the show.
I said
you had something earlier.
Yeah, I said I wasn't gonna go off, but a lot of reports have come out in DC, and they're talking about Josh Harris not knowing what to do. He's scared the ticket sales are gonna fall. So, we think a shakeup's coming, and I'm like, okay. I made an analogy the other. What was that last night? I think it was last night, the night before last. If I gave you an 08 Corolla, bad brakes, bad rotors, exhaust systems done, transmissions messed up, tires are bald. You got all these things to fix on this car. You can't fix it all at once because you don't have the money to. That's the Washington franchise right now. There's a lot of things wrong with this 08 Corolla. You want to act like it's an S-type and it just rolled off the assembly line. No, it's not. Give it a chance.
But you can't give it. It's 4 years of giving it a chance.
And in 4 years.
Hold. This is the. I saw this morning, and you were the first person I thought of when I saw this. The offensive line when Ron took over, projected was Trent Williams, Eric Flowers. I forget who the center was. Brandon Scherf and Morgan Moses.
The center was Chase Roullier.
Now, in year 4, we got Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, Mike, and company playing line for us. It's just terrible.
You forgot about Ralph and Johnny, but okay.
Ralph or whatever. Ralph was the leader of that. So he should have been solo a long time ago. He just stayed around to keep them relevant. But seriously, like this group, we have Leno, who was somebody else's trash, at our left tackle. He's played solid, but he's outplayed whatever we thought he was going to get from him. You got Deke Charles at left guard, who after the first 2 games, people were trying to make him a Pro Bowl guard, but he hasn't done anything the last couple of weeks. He actually tripped a guy on one of the spring plays against Buffalo, which ended up he tripped the lead blocker, and then the running back got tackled. Like, they're killing me. The center, Gates, last week against Chicago, good God, he got owned by the tackle on the first drive on 3rd and 1. Sam Cosmi, it might as well be parking cone, because that's what he is. You can just pick whichever way you want to go around him, and it's easy money. And then Wiley, he probably blocks as good as a lamppost. So what are we doing right now with this offensive line? This line has been terrible. It has been dysfunctional. It has not done anything. And then I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let me. You giving low hanging fruit, so let me go ahead and knock it out the park real quick. You talk about the line 4 years ago when Ron got here. Okay, this line was under Bill Callahan. Trent Williams wasn't going to play another down for this organization.
I'll give you that.
So he had to go. Didn't want to see him go. I said, hey, do what you got to do to fix it. I didn't want to see him go. Eric Flowers tried to re-sign him. The price tag was too high. Chase Roullier retired. Brandon Scherf tried to re-sign him. He got more money from Jacksonville and is way healthier than he was here. He ain't torn his pec yet.
Well, okay, all right. So hold on. I'm gonna let you finish. All right, you know what I'm saying? Beyonce had a great. I mean, Taylor Swift was good, but Beyonce had a better album. All right. But nah, it's this group. Sheriff, I knew we weren't going to resign because I wasn't paying a guard 20-some-odd million. But you got to bring somebody else in this back.
One of the top 2 guards in the league.
Do you know what top guard money is? Top guard money is like 17. You're not paying them 21, 22. You still got to pay because they believe in this front 4. We think we got the fearsome foursome, but we got the fraudulent 4. So what are we doing here?
I'm gonna stop it right there with a little history fact. If you look at how many games the fearsome foursome played as a tandem, you'll be very, very surprised. They were dominant, but they only played maybe 12 to 15 games together.
That was just an example, KG. Let's stop putting facts to my argument. I'm being outrageous right now. All right. I'm being incredulous. So let this incredulous happen, okay?
Can I just say that there's maybe like 4 or 5 teams in the entire NFL that are happy with their offensive lines? Just for context, can I just throw that in there? Because I mean, we were wearing the number 31 at our offensive line group because that's what we were ranked, number 31 in the league. We get literally our lunch taken every day when up the middle. Our guards are garbage. So I mean, I hear what you guys are saying, but like, there's maybe 4 or 5 fan bases that are like, oh man, our line's pretty solid. We're pretty stout. Everybody else is like, we're garbage. We're garbage.
I totally agree with you. I just like giving KC a hard time sometimes.
But my thing is, Ron came in, he had to make some moves to make some things happen. He was plagued by poor quarterback play. Okay,
mainly his first year.
Yeah, he went out and got Wentz. Everybody, I didn't want Wentz because I was like, I don't know which Wentz are we getting. Are we getting Philly Wentz, or are we getting?
That was a waste. That was a waste. That was a waste of a move. I hated that move for you guys. I thought there were better options. I was never a believer in Wentz. He's not the guy. If he were the guy, he would have been the guy.
And then my issue with go ahead, I'm gonna let you go because I'm gonna go somewhere differently.
I didn't want Fitzpatrick. You know, he was plagued with quarterback play, with poor quarterback play.
But
now
he picked
the quarterback drafts, the draft and the quarterback stop were poor. Okay. If we would have scouted deep in the draft, maybe we could have got a Brock Purdy in the 7th or the 6th or something like that. We got a Sam Howell. Now you got Sam Howell. Now here's a guy that leads the he leads the NFC East passing touchdowns and passing yards, touchdowns, and I think completion percentage.
Mm-hmm.
He has the intangibles. Or if Scooter was here, he has the Scoot tangibles. I get that. So that problem's been solved. We're trying to work on the offensive line, but they're trying to go the cheap route because you're trying to save money. You're trying to plug and play. And you can't do that in this league anymore. I get that. They're starting to realize that you have to move on from it because we'll go from having a top 5 unit to everybody getting hurt. Now we got a mash unit, as BJ calls it. So you got to plug and play guys. Ron has been trying. I'll give him that. He's been trying. Everybody wants to run him out of town, but I always say, what's your solution? Oh, we just going to make Eric Bieniemy the coach. Okay, you still got to put the staff around him. You still got to realize that this whole thing that Ron has built the last 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, I think he said, give me 5 years. We're only in year 4.
But you've seen other teams do it in less than 5 years.
And when they do it in less than 5 years, how long is it sustainable? How long is it sustainable?
Hold on. Paul just said Jacksonville, Doug Peterson came in, they win the playoffs the next year. Now,
well, hang on. The difference is you got a franchise quarterback, you got a franchise coach.
Paul, you bringing facts to my argument. Let me.
I mean, that's the difference. This is the first time that I've been here. Obviously, you had Tom Coughlin that was here. He did some great things with the franchise. He still has the J Fund in Jacksonville. It does a lot for the local community. Obviously, he won the 2 improbable Super Bowls in New York. So he cemented his legend that way. But other than that, we haven't had anybody at head coach that you would want. We wouldn't. I mean, you don't want JDR. You don't want Doug Marrone. You definitely don't want Mike Mularkey. I'm pretty sure you don't want Urban Meyer. If you want Gus Bradley, you're looking for a D coordinator. So we finally have a head coach who's competent. You got a quarterback who is like, I mean, you got Nick Wright who calls him the prince who was promised and does his, trumpets and all that stuff. You look at the teams that win Super Bowls, Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, Eli Manning, Tom Coughlin. You've got, there's that formula. So when you've got that, then you build around it. I feel like Washington, I don't know that you got the quarterback. I like Ron Rivera as a coach. I don't think he's a bad coach. I think you got. I like McLaurin. I like Jahan Dotson. Not crazy about a lot of your offense, but I feel like you got some dogs on defense that I don't know are being used to their maximum ability.
No, and I totally agree. And I think the problem is fans out here screaming, "Get rid of both Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio." Something you can't do. You're in the middle. You're in the middle of the season. So there's not like coaching talent that's going to be sitting out here ready for you to pluck off and bring in as your coordinator. And you can't bring them in mid-season unless it's somebody else that's a Del Rio disciple that's just sitting somewhere, hanging out in the bar, drinking Mai Tais and scotch on the rocks. Like it just doesn't. It's not going to happen, and it doesn't make sense to even try to go down that route.
But you're sitting at home drinking scotch on the rocks and Mai Tais, why the fuck would I want them?
I was being very. Oh God. All right. So back to what I was saying. You just can't fire like it's like fire Ron and Jack. Well, who's calling defense? You don't have Chris Harris. You don't have anybody on the staff that can do that. And then you're putting a first-year play caller in a situation where he has to run a team. Now, maybe you can do that when you're in the last 4 weeks of the season and hope is gone. But hopefully the hope isn't gone and you have a chance to win something. So it doesn't make sense. And the fact that this fan base, they're basing everything on the last 3 years. Where this guy came in, he barely knows where the good toilet is in the building. Like, he doesn't know the one where you can go in, nobody uses, he can sit down, be comfortable, and take a two. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't found that part of the building yet. He's still taking the one that's right down the corner from him if he doesn't have one in his office. So, like, give this guy time to get settled, figure out what he wants to do, build a plan up, because I know he's already reached out to people trying to figure out who he wants for this and that. I know he's not keeping the GMs and company, and I know he's not keeping his coach.
Well, let me tell you. First off, kudos to you for getting rid of Dan Snyder, because that was a cancer over the franchise for way too long.
Right.
Would not be surprised if you guys reached out to Chris Spielman, who we were looking at to become our VP, basically, over Trent Baalke, to give him a little bit of a leash. I think that'd be a great move for you guys. He's somebody who's experienced. There's a couple other guys that I like at GM. But if you guys are gonna go that route, you might as well clean house next offseason, find a new head coach. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if there's an appetite for somebody like a Lincoln Riley who's talking about coming to the pros. But I've long thought that Bieniemy could be the guy. The question is who's he going to bring in it as a staff? Who's he going to bring as your DC? Because that's what I mean. You guys, I mean, I'm not even going to lie. There's a couple guys you got that I'm kind of sniffing around before the trade deadline, depending on what the next couple weeks look like. Because RD could definitely use a Chase Young, especially if you don't think you guys are using him the right way. But you know, I don't think you. I mean, I understand the position you guys are in. I hear you guys, and obviously living in DC for, you know, better part of 10, 12 years. I understand the fan base and what you know Washington fans are about. But you know, I think you guys are absolutely on the right track. Just from the fact that you don't have Dan Snyder in the friggin' building. Dan Snyder was such an albatross around the neck of that franchise for so long. I feel like the culture's got to change from the top down. And you know, eventually you guys find. I mean, like I said before, you guys have won 3 Super Bowls without a franchise quarterback. You guys have won 3 Super Bowls without a franchise quarterback. You get the rest of the pieces on the same page, you can win a Super Bowl with Sam Howell. I don't think. I mean, you haven't seen him yet. He's what, 5 games, 6 games, 7 games.
Yeah,
I mean, you haven't seen him yet. He's got a couple of good receivers. I feel like you get a little work on the offense, get the defense playing on the right page. Problem is, you guys play in murderer's row of a division. You guys, you know, you got to face a Dallas and a Philly defense 4 times. That's a tough road to hoe for anybody. Giants, yeah, they can do some things in some years. I'm not believing Daniel Jones right now. But I mean, that's where you guys are at. I mean, but I absolutely feel like you guys have the arrow pointing up just because you got rid of that trash heap of an owner. He was such a cancer.
Totally agree.
And Matt says, I think it's smart for the new owner to give everyone a full year and let them make decisions and go from there. Also, there are a lot of bad O-lines out there. Yeah, we're not the only ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also think, like, I don't trust this staff to make decisions in terms of trades because I don't know if they're going to get me the right compensation. Why would I let them make that decision? Like, why would I let them build my future when they're not going to be part of the future?
But look at your past. You came from a past where it was like, hey, this guy was good 5 years ago. Let's pay him top dollar now.
Right,
with
right. You're
Albert
right.
Hainsworth and Dion and, you know, insert player here. You guys were the highest payroll for all these free agents that were past their prime for a decade.
Hey,
right.
We won more championships on paper than most teams. So,
off-season champions.
Yes, every year. But we come to the end of the show. We got to get out of here. We already had an hour and 25. So,
and we didn't even get to the Enterprise stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I got notes. I got notes.
wait. We might have to put a part 2 on this one then.
Hey, before we wrap, I will say this. Hey, KG, I know you had shared you had lost some people early on. I just want to share my condolences. It's always hard. Since we're not talking about Enterprise, I did hear through the grapevine, because there are a couple of former Enterprise folks down here in Duval, that rumor had it. I had not gotten any more than rumor that we did lose also Jim Mangana.
That's not cool. I actually reached out. So his wife, somehow in a post, I came across it, and his wife and I talked for probably an hour talking about Jim. So yeah, so that's definitely not a rumor.
So my condolences to you, KG, for your losses, and certainly want to celebrate Jim. Let's go Mountaineers. Let's go drink some beers.
That's
Jim
right.
Mangano, great guy. We can talk about him on the next segment. Hopefully, if I didn't drive you guys away, you invite me back some point.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like we say all the time, the chair is open.
Yeah,
the chair is open. I thank you for that as well. Man, it's been a fun ride. We'll be back on Thursday to do it again. Shout out to Duval Paul jumping in here with us.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Man, much appreciated. That's the
so if you don't mind seeing this face again, if you go to All In Sports, I think it's 9:00. I think they're re-airing the show I did this weekend with them, where I gave them a hockey preview, a baseball preview. So on that, I'm BC. I'm the man with a million names. So
well, on this one, he's the Midnight Rider. That's Duval Paul. I'm the big guy, KG. We don't do no overtime, y'all. We are out of here. Uh-oh. We ain't out of here yet. Wait. Now we out of here.